Hey y'all, it's Day. So I am going to be doing a reading for us today. I'm very curious to see how this goes because I usually don't do any readings unless I feel a certain way, and I don't necessarily feel that way right now. However, I was hoping that I could get a message that will be helpful to us as well as myself. And yeah, right now I have 432 hertz playing in the background, and I burned a little bit of rosemary. So I'm really just curious to go ahead and get started. So we have the Magician card here up at the top. And I'm hearing brighter. And with that, it feels like just having a sense of encouragement, having a sense of relief within having some form of idea, or it just feels like being in a state where maybe your physical environment is not necessarily where you want to be, or maybe you're not in the environment that you want to be, but you have this vision or this idea or this some kind of spark, intuitive spark with this Magician card. It's like you have something that you're holding on to, that you are allowing to kind of take up a life of its own because of your own will and your own intent with whatever this inspiration is. We also have this Knight of Pentacles here. And with this Knight of Pentacles, it just feels like I have something special, and I just heard the word deliver. So I have something special to deliver. I have something special to provide. Wow, okay. So this is for some of you. Some of you have something very special to provide. It's very precious. It may be something that you've worked really hard on. It may be something that's very important to you. You might also be a little sensitive about it. But it's like you have something to offer. Then we have this Emperor in reverse. And I heard authoritative, and I'm also hearing the brink. It kind of feels like being suppressed, or having an idea of, like, it could look like many things, but like some form of authority over you. It could be a person, and that could be like a boss, or a supervisor, or like a family member even. It feels like someone or something. It can also be a system, or like a guideline, or something like that. Something you feel kind of like under, and it feels, the word repress is coming through. Like there's a sense of repression with whatever form of authority that may be currently in your life that is kind of making you feel like stand under, like you're not allowed to do or be or something like that. And I just heard the word calling with this judgment card, which came out directly underneath this magician. Calling. So this kind of feels like answering the call. Some of you guys, I feel like, are already in the process of that. Like you've already answered the call and you're kind of following this path, and it feels very intuitive. I feel more like I'm feeling through this situation than I am able to see it or like tangibly feel like it doesn't feel like as dense of a tangible form of foundation that you're walking on. It just feels like you're having to be more intuitive and sensing your way through a certain situation in regards to this inspiration that you've been feeling and that you have answered to, that you are called into. Is very interesting. Again, it's just like, and I'm hearing willed. It's like this inspiration, this idea, this spark, this sense of integrity, this purpose, this calling, this cause is something that you are kind of holding on to, and it kind of feels like an idea or a tool or object that you have like put your intentions into. It's kind of like you've been feeding, you're the only one that's been feeding this, whatever this is that you are kind of following into the dark. Like think of like on those movies when it's really dark inside a room or the house or something, and they have like this, I forgot, it's like a candle holder, and then they got the long stick, and they're just kind of like walking through the house, and they're like that. That's what whatever this thing is feels like. It's like whatever you're being called to do, you're allowing that to be the light, and that's so powerful. Like that's so powerful because it takes a lot of courage, and there's also this sense, and I feel like it's already been accepted in some way, form, or shape, that dang, I forgot what I was gonna say, but it's like you've already accepted this journey or this cause. Oh, and it feels like there's kind of like you've passed this threshold where it's kind of like there's no going back, basically. It's definitely giving the energy of having trailblazed or having taken a different route in life, having taken unconventional or a certain way about being or doing that is may not be acceptable to others, or kind of like this energy of like others may not see what you're doing or understand what you're doing. And it also feels kind of like I don't have time to explain, I just have to do. I could do it better than I can show you type of energy. And it's kind of like you don't have time to try to explain to others, or sometimes it's like, it's very interesting because it's like in situations where we're asked to have compassion for others, but like in this situation feels like you don't have time to go back for other people. You don't have time to try to reason or convince people. It's just kind of like, it's kind of like this energy of if you're coming with me or you're not, and but also not like holding it against people that's not going to come with you as well. But it's kind of just like you're trying to keep your own fire going, That's what the energy is. And it's kind of like this journey requires faith. And like I said, it's more of a feeling and a sensing through this. Like imagine walking through a cave or a house or any environment that you're not familiar with, and it's not, maybe it's completely dark, but it doesn't have to necessarily be completely dark. But it's, maybe you could see some things, but you can't see others. But like I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is that you don't have time to like try to convince other people, or like you're just trying to keep your own fire going, and you're trying to keep yourself motivated, and you're trying to believe in yourself and believe in what you have crafted and what you have done, what you have built, the skills that you have put time and energy into. And it's just kind of like, by doing that, by trying to convince others right now, or by trying to go back for others right now, or by entertaining certain people right now, it would weigh you down. And it's kind of like, and this doesn't mean that you have to leave people forever. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Maybe that'll come up in the reading later, I don't know. But it's just kind of like, you have to save yourself. But it's not necessarily about saving yourself. It's more about, you have something to do. You have a mission. You have a journey. You have been called. And I guess that's kind of a part of the message as well, although I'm not getting it as strongly. Sometimes it could be situations where it's like, no, you were called to do this, and other people can see it. But it's just more like, it just feels more about you, and a certain type of sense of integrity within yourself. That you can go this journey along, that you can trust yourself. It's gonna build a certain level of confidence within you that kind of like nobody else can take away from you. Like, I just feel like you would feel so proud of yourself once you go through this, that you trusted yourself, that you believed in yourself, that you continued to feed this message that you were initially given. And that can be the thing sometimes, like we could be called or pushed or pulled to do certain things. Sometimes, unfortunately, we don't always follow through. But it's like, it takes a special person to be able to follow that flow, to follow that inner light that nobody else can see, not only that other people can't see it, you can't see it either. You can only feel it. It's just like a different level of perception. And that's another thing that I have realized within my journey, is that there are so many different ways to sense. We know about the 5 senses, but there are other senses that we can have that we haven't even, a lot of people haven't really began to explore. And so that's very interesting. But yeah, it's just like, I guess I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but I do want to emphasize how powerful, and not powerful externally, but powerfully internally for yourself, it is that you're following this intuition, this flow, this cause within you that you feel like is important. Yeah. And it's like very, in my opinion, spiritual in how you are feeding this, whatever that you've been called to do. You're like feeding it. You're believing, you're adding onto it. So it's just like, again, he has this tool, but the tool is just not just a tool. It's just like he believes in it. He puts intentions with it. He thinks about himself individually, the tool, and the relationship to the tool. I don't know. It's just something very, very special. And it feels like when you do this, it becomes more tangible. Like, think about, like, you know how they say, like, everything starts in the mind, or like feeding certain type of thoughts. Usually, like, you'll hear this in the context of like negative thoughts, how you can ruminate over something and how you could just continue to feed it. I don't know if any one of y'all ever been in a situation where like you put all this stuff in your head and it wasn't even really that, but you fed it, and you fed it so much that you started to embody it. You started to feel a certain type of way. That's what the energy is, or the process of feeding it is like. But this is obviously a more like a movement, a process, but like a positive one for this particular situation. It's just like you're feeding this idea, you're feeding this, and yeah, it's just like this candle can be your beliefs, your own personal motivation, your inspiration, your idea. You're feeding it. I do also see with this Emperor in reverse that it is important to maintain this root chakra within you. And if you guys are not familiar, your root chakra is your sense of security, your sense of safety. And sometimes we can use certain things, ideas, concepts, tools, material, possessions, career, jobs as a sense of security. But depending on what it is and what you're using it for and what's going on in your life, sometimes that can, a job like I'm a doctor, or I work at a bank, or I do this, it's a false sense of security just because we tie too much of our identity to it. But with this Emperor in the reverse, it just feels like, I feel like you're locked in, like your foundation is solid, or it's fertile. I should say fertile more than solid, because like when I say solid, I don't want it to seem like it's concrete. It doesn't feel concrete, but it feels like, it feels sturdy and stable and packed with intention. But it's still pliable enough to receive, to be able to be influenced as well. And it feels like a good thing. But this is I feel like a continuous encouragement to continue to keep that a focus in your journey, because it is very important, especially when you're going through a journey that is requiring you to use your senses rather than sight. So your root chakra, your sense of security, is very important. And of course that can look like a lot of many different ways, but you can think of emotional balance, making sure you're emotionally balanced, make sure you're keeping yourself in check, make sure you're holding yourself accountable as well. Practicing patience is another way for the root chakras. Like, I will not be disturbed, I will not be shaken, I will not be moved, but not necessarily in a way where you can't be penetrated at all, you can't receive, you can't, you know what I'm saying, not too rigid. But I'm definitely seeing your work. This Emperor in reverse for me is showing that you have been working on your root chakra, or you are aware of it, and that it's in a good place right now, and to continue to maintain that, continue to keep that at the forefront until it's just natural for you. And that shit is beautiful. The word context is coming through. very interesting. Let's look that up for fun. Oh my gosh. I don't know why this thing is acting like this. Oh, that's why I didn't spell it properly. Context. The part of a text or statement that surrounds a particular word or passage and determines its meaning. The circumstances in which an event occurs. A setting. The parts of a piece of writing, speech that precede and follow a word or passage and contribute to its full meaning. Context. Yeah. And that's what it feels like as well. Like when I'm mentioning that you're going to have to use your other senses, it's just kind of like contextualizing. Like, it's kind of like the supporting of contextualizing, context. And then I'm also getting like context, like, I don't know what that is. Context. It kind of feels like, I'm also hearing eradicating. It's kind of like being aware, kind of like I said, like having a solid foundation, but not being so rigid where you're not able to get things back or receive as well. Like, know the goal, but try to see the bigger picture as well, and how that is in relation to others. Example. We also have the Nine of Swords in reverse. And I'm not really getting a lot from this card right now. I kind of feel like you may struggle with, I'm hearing self-identity. Oh, okay. Wow. You may struggle with self-identity or experience some form of anxiety regarding that, like regarding how you show up in the world, how you represent yourself, maybe how others will react to you, or how others may perceive you or see you. And I'm also hearing overcome. And it kind of feels like it's still there in some aspects, but it does feel kind of like a little bit further away, or maybe a little bit more in the back or in the past. But thank you for that confirmation. The word overcome, it does feel more like this is something that you have been overcoming, that you're currently overcoming, you're still continuing to work on. And that may be why I said with this Magician card, why it's going to add to your confidence. The fact that once you get through this experience, that it's going to add on to you in a way where you have something that nobody else can take away from you, because you followed your intuition, you followed your calling. And the word resentful is coming up. You follow your calling, and it working out is going to add confidence to you, another layer to your root chakra, to your sense of security, that you can depend on yourself, you can provide for yourself, you can trust yourself. Wow, that's beautiful. And that's why also this Judgment card came out directly underneath the Magician. Judgment of yourself. This is the judgment. This is the judgment of yourself in relation to how grounded you are in your truth and who you are in that part of yourself and a part of a lot of ourselves that a lot of people shut down, a lot of people ignore, a lot of people choose not to face. But I heard the word treat. They choose not to treat. It's kind of like thinking of the idea of procrastination. You have something that you know you need to do, whether it's like a writing an essay, homework, any task, chores, bills, having to call anybody. I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, and I'm just seeing a lot of red here with the Emperor, the Magician, even the Knight of Pentacles. Even though it's not that much, it's still significant. You got red in here, and like I said, it's just like I'm hearing the word burying. I'm not sure if it was burying or bearing, but it kind of feels like a little bit of both. Bearing. I think it's bearing. I don't know, it might be burying. But in regards to the Knight of Pentacles, it does feel like bearing something about what you have to offer, something about what you've realized, something about what is important to you. Like I said, your environment or the people around you, or I don't know who. It might not just be the word norm is coming through. It might not be the norm, and it might not be, people just might not get it. And a part of following this intuition is realizing that regardless if someone else values something, not allowing that to change how you value something, or if you value something, just because others may not see it or realize it. And just knowing that you have something very important. That's so awesome. I'm hearing hatchet. Oh, okay, so you heard that term before, bearing the hatchet? I'm wondering. Feel like you've been in a place before where you just like your anxiety was just so off the roof, off the charts, like so just worrying about projections. One thing that I've just realized within the last maybe couple of months, and it's just kind of like I knew this to a certain degree, but I just didn't know to which degree. Like I said before in a previous video, I've realized that energy is a lot more dense than I realize. And when I say that, I mean that it could be manipulated. And of course, people know that energy can be manipulated, but I don't know. It's just like Matt Frazier, he was talking about how when someone's upset with you, you could feel that. When someone has like evil will towards you, you could feel that. When other people have projections towards you, you could feel that, even though they may be, miles away from you. And I guess I could just get more sensitive the more that I do the work, and that's the gift of the work. But it's also the you have to go through that in order to get to that. So I'm highly sensitive and I'm highly intuitive, but that's only because I'm able to face myself every single day. Well, I can't say every single day, but I definitely do try to. I, of course, fall short, but that being the practice. And it's like when you face yourself, your fears, your insecurities, your doubts, and you instead decide to kind of change the narrative or feed positive thoughts more, that energy builds. And that's what we were talking about earlier. But the same for projections. And in regards to this one, what I was trying to say is that some of you guys have experienced a lot of anxiety from other people's projections of you, worried that they will misinterpret you, or worried that that's not what you meant, worried how other people will perceive you, how they're receiving you. And like I said, that energy is a little bit further in the distance, and with the word overcome coming through, it's just like you've been working on that. And I find it interesting that the Emperor and this was on opposite sides at the bottom of this spread, showing that contrast, what you're building. Remember I said you're building on, and that's why we're being called to continue to keep our root chakra, our sense of security at the forefront. And this is like, it's balancing them each other out, and that's beautiful. Sometimes I hear Carmichael, and I don't know who that is, but it feels like more like the word entity just came through. I don't know. But it feels like a form of protection with this World card that came out right next to this Nine of Swords in reverse. I feel like you have a form of protection that is higher than what you can see. You have a form of protection, a guardian even. It does feel like an actual being, like a form of protection. I'm hearing guardian. So this could be like a guardian angel, or someone or something that is like personally protecting you, personally watching over you, personally guiding you. Oh, and I'm also getting that like you can go to this, I don't know why I want to say person, like you can go to this person for help. Okay, so this may also be an earthly guardian that you can go to. I'm getting both of those. So for some people, you have a on earth tangible guardian that you can go to for protection, for advice, for inspiration, for encouragement. I feel very loving energy. And I'm also feeling like feminine energy, like it may be a woman. So if there's someone in your life that sounds like that, it may be that person, and you may be being encouraged to kind of give them a call, talk to them, vent to them, or something like that. And if you don't feel that, it may be a guardian angel that you have that's personally protecting you and guiding you. And I feel like I'm getting both of those messages here, which is very interesting. So you guys let me know, do you have a physical person here that's helping you, that you can think of that comes to mind based off of what I have described? Or do you feel like you might have a guardian angel or something that you speak to, that you vent to, that you pray to, that's watching over you? Wow. I heard walking away, and I also heard dogma. That's wild. Wow, that's wild. So some of y'all are walking away from dogma. You're walking away from things that just don't make sense to you. And the word contextualize is coming up again. It's kind of like sometimes society, people, family members, friends, groups will be like, this is what it is, but there's no context around it. There's no really supporting document. It's just something that you do. It's just something that's done. It's just something that you don't do. It's stuff like that. We're walking away from dogma, walking away from, oh, and I said earlier today, oh, I said earlier in the reading, there's some form of authority. Like it could be authority figure, like I said, a family member, like a parent or an aunt, or it could be a system that wants you to stand under. And you're choosing instead to walk away from dogma. You're choosing instead to follow your intuition, follow what makes sense to you, and honoring what doesn't make sense to you or what you don't emotionally connect to. And that's what's really significant about this, because it is the Eight of Cups. Cups represents water, and water represents emotions. So this can be like being intuitively led, being having some form of emotional bond or tie to something. And it's kind of like I'm getting the feeling of there's something that you have been kind of, in a way, indirectly or directly, kind of like people might have made you to feel like you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that. And it's kind of like, well, that doesn't work for me. Like, I don't, like, me, I'm like, I don't subscribe to that ideology. Like, I'm sorry that you feel like if that's important to you, let it be important to you. If it's important to you, like, be able to stand on that alone. Stop trying to convince me that I need to live or do or be a certain type of way. If you really feel like, you know, the way that you live is the truth, then continue to live that way, but keep me out of it. So with this Eight of Cups coming out with the Eight of Pentacles, this is you having the courage to walk away from what is not feeding you, because we talked about putting our intentions into whatever this spark, idea, inspiration is. But also it's kind of like, in order to do that, sometimes we also have to stop feeding things in order to feed something else. Wow, that's powerful. We have to walk away from what these Eight Cups is representing, what's important to everybody else. And you're saying, that's not important to me. That's not what I'm choosing to focus on. That's not how I see it. That's not my narrative. That's not my story. That's not my concern. That's not my expertise. That's not my interest. My interests are elsewhere. And having the courage, this is like you packing at night. Yeah. And it feels kind of like, if you guys have been on a trip before and there's like, you know, I don't know, there's different times that people like to leave for their trips. Some people like to leave early in the morning. Some people, you know, take a nap during the afternoon and they say, I'm gonna head out at night. I'm gonna head out at 8, or I'm gonna head out at 10 or something like that. It's kind of, this also feels like a long time coming, or something that you've prepared for. it just kind of reminded me of like when I used to run track in high school, and we would have to get up early in the morning, like before the sun comes up, and you go to the locker room, there's these bright ass lights, and you got all your clothes on, you feeling like excited, but your body's still kind of tired, but you good, you got your music, you got your CD player. I'm just kidding. You got your music, like you got the snacks, you got everything, but it's just that leaving early in the morning before the sun comes up type of vibe. Like, you prepared for this, you've been training all week or all month. I did get a sentiments of like some kind of craft or something that you've been building, that you're realizing, hey, this is important to me and I'm gonna speak about it, type of thing. And it just feels like it's the track meet, it's the day, and it's just like you're getting up early and you're deciding, this is what I'm going to do. I hope this thing isn't too loud. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's just like you're prepared for the journey type of energy. I just heard that. Oh no. You're prepared for the journey. And that's so good to hear, considering the circumstances, and like I said, the fact that you're using your senses to feel your way through. It's just kind of like what I came here to do, I just heard. Wow, that shit is powerful. Wow. Okay, we also have the Fool card in reverse, which came out directly underneath this Magician card and the Judgment card. So under the Magician and the Judgment, we have the Fool card here. I just felt for myself that it was important for me in this moment to, because I say affirmations to myself, like when I first wake up in the morning, so I'm doing my morning rituals or whatever. I use affirmations a lot, especially in situations where I know that I feel the opposite. And by doing that, it helps me to release what is not something that I want to carry. So for example, if I'm not happy, I say affirmations such as, I am happy. And other people might feel like, well, like you're lying to yourself or whatever. It's deeper than that, because it's accompanied with a breathing exercise where I breathe in my nose as much as I can, and I exhale it through my mouth. And I can direct my breath in certain areas of my body that need healing. So with me saying I am happy, it's not just me trying to convince myself that I am happy. When I say to myself that I am happy, my body reacts to that in a way where everything within inside of me that does not feel that way starts to object. And I continue to go through this. Sometimes the range of feelings that can come from doing these affirmations vary so interestingly. But it's just like when I say that, everything inside of me that doesn't agree with that starts to come up. And as I do my breathing exercises, and I feel through that, it can get very intense, and it can feel very painful sometimes, or it can feel very deep sometimes. And it can feel very like where you're like really in it, because really you're going through that trauma that you didn't get to process, or a reaction to a trauma that you never got to process. Maybe because the people around you, like say for example your parents didn't let you cry or something like that, or maybe you just kept it in because of embarrassment. Whatever the reason, you repressed an emotion that wasn't fully processed. So by doing that, like I said, everything that feels the opposite of that or objects to that starts to rise up within my body, and eventually it can get very intense, and it can take a while to get to the head of it, but it does come to a head where there is a certain type of physical release that you can realize, that you could feel, and it's quite powerful, but it's not for the weak, that practice. But with this Fool card, it just feels like allowing yourself. This Fool card in reverse feels like being proud of yourself for going on this journey. Also feels like being optimistic about this journey that you're on. But it mostly feels like, how would I describe that? It's like, I deserve this. It's something about like, I deserve to be happy. Okay. It's like with the Fool card is about like taking a risk. This is about somebody that has lived life, a certain type of life or lifestyle, and it's like they're no longer inspired by it, but they're so uninspired by it, or they're so repressed by it, that even though what they want to do, there's so much that is unknown, even though they don't know how things will play out, even though they don't know how things will come together, they know they may have stayed in this place for so long that they know that there's nothing else there for them. Like, they have to move. It's just within them. Like, they just, like, I don't know if you guys ever been in a situation where it's like, I have to move out of here. I have to get out of this situation. I can't do this tomorrow. Even if it's too boring, or like you're tired of a job or something like that, just like, I have to get out of here. Like, that feeling within itself was enough motivation for you to move on, to move forward, to take it despite the risk, despite the uncertainty. And this does also relate back again to that Magician card, and why it was coming through earlier, that we're having to use our senses, because we don't know how exactly things are going to be played out. But I do know that I have something that I've been working on. I do know that there's something important that I have to say. I know that there's something important within me that I want to experience, and I want to share, and I want to pursue. Yes. Wow. I'm also hearing footing. I feel very optimistic, and I feel like also like that excitement of going on a road trip type of feeling. Like, there's a certain level of freedom that comes with this leap that you're taking. And that's what I was saying earlier. It's just like that confidence, because you followed your intuition, you followed the calling, you followed what you were called to do, you followed that inkling within you. Another thing that helped me with grounding in that is that I've heard this several times before, but it's just like, the way that you feel about something, someone else might feel that way too. But it's like, a lot of times we don't always have the courage to speak up about something, or to be the only one. I'm hearing pioneering. we don't always feel like our influence is enough. We don't feel like we have the influence or the standing to do something, even if it's outside the norm, or to stand on our own feet. Like, we don't always trust ourselves. But that's why I was saying earlier in this reading that when you follow this thing through, you will have a certain level of integrity within your the relationship that you have with your intuition and your self-confidence and your sense of stability, your root chakra. That is good. That is, like I said, I'm hearing fermented. It's like you have a solid, fertile, not a solid. You have a, what I used earlier, a stable foundation, a compacted foundation, like it's together, but it's not so rigid that it can't consume. And you could think of like soil, a garden, being able to water. It can absorb, but it's also have its own sense of stability as well. And it's fertile, it can grow. And that's why I was saying earlier in this reading, I was like, it feels like contextualized, it feels like something supporting an initial core of whatever this inspiration, idea, creativity, this cause, this calling. And then you have something that's contextualizing it, which is the supporting thoughts, you feeding it. And then it's like this form of type of energy where it's just like, oh, it's allowing you to sprout. You're also able to sprout, to grow, to expand. I saw 51 on the clock, so if that's someone number, that's for you. And that's so beautiful. This is such a beautiful, encouraging message. Wow. So yeah, definitely something is growing. And it doesn't feel like, I want to say too, because I think I said sprouting, which it is sprouting, but it feels a lot more than sprouting, because like I said earlier, I got this feeling of you've been cultivating or working on some form of craft or skill in relation to whatever this is. So you have been doing the work, which is why we talked about you've been doing the work with this root chakra. So it's more than just a sprout. That is its own energy, breaking the soil. That's sprouting. But it's just, I'm feeling all of this abundance. I'm seeing like a garden type of vibes, like greenery, like it's like really truly blooming, really truly, like, okay, and the word eradicating is coming up again. Eradicating. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So because you put your intentions into this idea thing, this idea or whatever, inspiration, you're feeding it in a way where it's blooming so largely, so greatly, so abundantly that you're feeding it, and it's actually growing to the point where you're gonna get to a point where you don't even have room for the negativity. You don't even have room for the negative thoughts. You won't even have room for all this stuff. And it's like the beautiful thing about this is you've done the work, and it's gonna be solid, and it's gonna stick with you because of this root chakra that you are continuing to stabilize and keep at the forefront of how you go about doing things. Wow. It's just like, it's so abundant. And I'm kind of interested as well, because I'm like, so about this garden, my question is like, can you see this garden? Like, can we see this garden right now, or is it just happening? It kind of feels like the garden is happening in the background. I don't know if it's because we haven't been focusing on it, or if we can't see it, or if we're not meant to see it. I'm not sure what that is, but it's like it's there. And I kind of feel like we can't see it, or I don't know if that's not the focus right now or something, but it's like it's there. And I'm getting the feeling of like, I don't know, it's kind of like, the only example that I can see right now is kind of like, you know, when like some people, or you may have also, like, you kind of step back and you get a little bit more quiet, and maybe your closest friends, like, or your real friends, will check in on you and like make sure you're good. Or maybe you don't have friends that check on you, but it's just like you kind of disappear and you come back renewed. You disappeared and you came back established. And it kind of gives people that know you or may not know you this impression of like it's kind of like, you know, when we say, like, when you work out, you don't see the differences because you see yourself every day. But someone else that doesn't see you every day, they can notice those differences a lot more strongly. That's kind of the example that's coming through, that's like kind of like this shock. I'm also hearing disbelief in the amount of growth that has come. Oh, of course. Everything keeps on tying back to this root chakra. So another thing about working with your root chakra, or your sense of security, and in relation to this reading, where there's something that you're feeding that's within you, that you've been called to do, is something that you cultivate and you put your time and energy into, that you, like, nobody else saw you doing that work. Nobody else saw you doing that work. Maybe nobody else was even expecting you to be doing that work, or to be working at all. And that's what I think this beautiful thing about the root chakra is because it truly is for you. And it gives you a certain level of integrity, like I said, within your own self-confidence and self-worth. Did we get self-identity earlier? Self-identity? But it was, I'm hearing masquerade. It's something that, what I'm really trying to articulate here is the fact that you've been so committed to this that not even you can see the roots of, or some of the results of what you've actually been building. Like, sometimes we do things in our lives, or we do certain actions, but we don't really realize the ripple effect to its extent or to its degree. And it feels like you've been working this. I'm hearing generate, but it just feels like kind of like that example of, like, maybe you learned something in school, or you learned something somewhere and you never thought that you would have to use it, or you didn't think that you would need it, and then some type of situation comes up where you're just like, dang, I didn't think I was ever going to use that. But in this situation, it's more like, dang, I didn't even know I was doing all of that. That's kind of what it feels like. It kind of feels like the work that you have been doing is so much greater than you, but it's applied to the foundation of you. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It just feels like you're gonna be lifted up by your own self. Like, you have, like, okay, so you set yourself up. That's what it feels like. It's you set yourself up in a way, in a certain type of way. It's kind of like, I don't know, you're building some form of foundation for yourself that you don't even know all the ways that it's going to support you. Wow, that's beautiful. That is so powerful. I feel like crying was so powerful. But yeah, you're definitely supported. You're definitely protected. Wow, that's wild. I can't even deal. I can't even deal. Dang, I wasn't trying to get all these cards. Okay. Let's see. A lot of cards came out, and I'm like, dang. I wasn't expecting this many cards. I just heard hush with this Four of Swords. I'm also hearing repent. And I'm getting like this kind of like solace, meditative state. It's just like a grounded state, a grounding and knowing that you're safe, a grounded and knowing that things are coming together. So we had this Four of Swords, and above it, out sideways, we had the Four of Wands. This sense of stability that you're wanting, that you're looking for, and a sense of security, a home. That came out sideways, letting us know that that's something that we're still working on and integrating. And this Three of Pentacles above that, allowing things to work out, to come together. And it feels very tangible, allowing things to work themselves out. And that kind of feels like, you know how sometimes we can get too hasty, or sometimes we kind of rush things instead of following our natural flow, honoring our energetic flow, honoring, like we said earlier, our intuition, how our body feels. It's just like allowing that, working on your sense of security in regards to like your faith in what it is that you're doing, your faith in your cause, your faith that whatever it is that you're working through, that you can get through it. I heard disappointment with this Justice card in reverse. And I'm hearing the word leading. So yeah, something about taking the reins, taking the initiative, which is what it speaks to this whole entire reading. Like we said, following the call. You're the one that's being called to do this, to go on this journey, to say that. And you may have been a person where you've been disappointed by authority. You've been disappointed by leadership. You've been disappointed by the system. You've been disappointed by the traditions. You've been disappointed by the guidelines. You've been disappointed by the rules. And so that's why you're being called to lead. The Sun card came out right next to this Justice in reverse. For me, that means like it's all on you. It's up to you to take that lead, to be that light, to blaze that trail. You also had this Nine of Pentacles here. She's all about quality. She's already established. She has what she needs and more and more. And she has a sense of self-worth. I'm also hearing self-sabotage. Let's see. I'm also hearing irrational behavior. I also heard something. I don't know what that is though. Really? Hold on. I don't know. Let me see. I was hearing guillotine, but I don't know what that is, or if that is a word or event or something. Guillotine. I also am hearing like Mount Everest. And for me, that is representing this cause that you're following. It is a big feat. And I think that's very important for you to know. It is huge. This that you're undertaking. This is also you having been injured in the past. You've been through some things. I'm also getting this feeling of like, when I said you've been working on this craft or this skill for a while, it's also like you've been through some things where you've had to bandage yourself, or you now know how to bandage yourself. You know how to care for yourself. Think about like going out on a journey. It's just like you've learned certain things along your journey where you know different tools, methods. You can identify, certain herbs in the forest to help you, or tools to help you. You have a sense of like you've learned something, so you can identify and you can use your environment, and you're skilled in wielding or putting things together, even in circumstances or situations where you feel like you may not have all the resources that you need. You know how to improvise and put things together and like patch yourself up. And that is a characteristic that is very important, and it's being highlighted in regards to your journey. And that being confirmed with this Eight of Pentacles right next to that. I'm hearing guillotine again, so I'll have to look it up later. This is you just like moving forward. We're at 1 hour and 11 minutes right now. This is you moving forward into the journey. The word eradicate is coming up again. And it's very interesting the way that it's coming through now, because eradicate is kind of like, I think of eradicate, we kind of think, well, I think of like me doing the eradication. But something about this Six of Swords is kind of like something about the circumstance, kind of you've honored the situation where you just realized it was time for you to move. And that is still like being eradicated, like just allowing things to, when the time is up or when the process is done, just being able to recognize that and move forward, to move on. That's how I feel with this Six of Swords. Eradicate. Knowing when it's time to move forward. And that did, by the way, come on top of this Nine of Swords we were talking about earlier, where you've suffered from affliction, from others' projections or thoughts that you were feeding that were negative. So moving on from that. Oh, okay. And also in regards to this Eight of Pentacles, where you're working on something you've been working on, root chakra showing here again with the red. And I was saying earlier, like it's something that you've been working on, you've been cultivating that you don't even know. There's aspects of the foundation that you have intentionally been building. There's aspects of that you didn't even realize how far it would go, or how like you just don't understand the magnitude of the I don't know, dude, the intention that you've put. Like you haven't even seen all that you have built within your practices for yourself that is serving as a foundation for yourself. But underneath that, we had the Six of Wands, and the Six of Wands can speak to like being celebrated, being recognized. And what I mentioned earlier with this root chakra is that there's some things that you couldn't communicate to other people, or you couldn't really tell other people. Oh, yeah, we was talking about like you don't have time to go back and like convince other people. But also in regards to this Eight of Pentacles, like you've been doing the work without recognition. You've been doing the work for the right reasons, and you've been doing it without praise, without people encouraging you, like you did it on your own. And it's kind of like this will come, but it's acknowledging the fact that you did it without this initially. And that's what's going to make you so much more powerful. That's what's going to make your foundation so much stronger, because you didn't need that in order to do it. And that's why this judgment came out in the very beginning underneath this magician card, because you answered the call just because it was calling you, and you put intentions and you fed the inspiration that was given to you in a way where you just realized yourself and your influence, and you believed in yourself. I also heard nonchalant, and that came through, and it was like kind of like a feeling of maybe others may have been nonchalant towards you, or towards your ideas, or towards whatever you were putting your time and energy into. Others were nonchalant or maybe unmoved by your work or something like that. But it's kind of like with that, and I'm getting this with this Seven of Swords in reverse, which can speak to deception. This card came out underneath this, and it's like something about what you've been doing. Maybe people might have blown off, or maybe just not inspired by, or like we said earlier, not understanding or not able to see. Something about that is kind of like, that's what I was getting earlier too, like with that example, you secluding yourself, you kind of taking a step back and working on yourself, and then re-emerging as a warrior, or as, I don't know, it's just like you've grown, you've developed, you're matured, this craft that you've been working on, you have a certain type of skill, and people kind of being like taken back by that, because the growth seems so much more intense because you took that step back. They weren't seeing you every day. Wow. That's what we talking about. That's what we talking about. Hell yeah. Something is very significant about being able to, like I said earlier, move when phases have played out. Being able to know when to move. The word eradicate is coming out again. Knowing when to move, when to elevate, when to move to the next thing, or answer the call, or like, yeah. So like, if you've been doing this work already, by you continuing to keep your sense of stability in the forefront, it's just like those callings only get stronger in regards to like your ability to move more easily with them. It's more easy to move in the direction that you're supposed to when you have a sense of self, a true sense of security. It's easier to trust yourself. It's easier to lead. And who is better to lead someone to lead the people than someone who has put in the time, energy, and work into the craft and skill, and someone who has taken the time to get to know their feelings enough to where that they can sense and they can walk through an environment, a place where they can't see everything. Remember we said earlier, it's like, I don't know if you're walking through a dark house or a cave or something, but you just have this little lamp or this little light and you can only see so much at a time, but you're using that, which is that idea, that inspiration, that calling, and you feed it and you believe in it. And like I said, you had to use your other senses other than sight, and that's not easy to do. And that's what one of the many things that makes this message, this reading, so powerful. With this Page of Pentacles in reverse, I kind of feel like this, okay, this feels like you reflecting on a younger version of yourself or whatever stage you were in before you started this journey. For me, this is representing you reflecting on, taking the time to reflect on how far you have come and the changes that you truly have been making and experiencing. Taking the time to acknowledge that, taking the time to apologize and show appreciation to yourself for that is going to be very helpful, because it's important for you to see your progress. Like I said, you've been working out, as a mundane example, and you see yourself every day, so you can't always see what other people see. But something about you taking the time to pause and acknowledge the work that you have done and what you have built thus far and your improvements, and try to find those comparisons between day one and now in regards to this situation is a very beneficial practice for you. But I'm also getting like a congratulations, like, yeah, definitely congratulations. Like I'm getting like a student, and this is just like a younger version of yourself that when you started out, when you first decided to answer the call. Wow. And underneath that we have this King of Swords. Throughout this journey, it is equipping you in a way where you can stand firmly behind what it is that you believe, because you have a true sense of direction that is directly a result of this root chakra that you have been cultivating within the various ways that we've described in this reading. Wow, a true sense of direction, a true sense of integrity, a true sense of who you are and where you're going, in a way that is allowing you to lead others, because this came directly underneath these cards. You see how powerful that is? That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, this is the longest reading I think that I've done so far. Oh, I didn't even see these cards right here. also keep on hearing eradicating. So there is something also, there are, like, of course, the journey never ends. There are certain things that we're still working on shedding that are that's no longer helping us on this journey. And I'm gonna leave that to you to kind of figure out whatever that is. But I'm hearing stagnation. We also spoke earlier about like rigidity, not being able to receive as well, not being penetrable. We also did have this strength card in reverse that came directly on top of this Fool card, where we talked about you having this inspiration of this being inspired to move because you want something different for yourself, or you want something different for the environment or for the people to come in relation to this cause, this inspiration, this calling. So strength is showing up here. And I feel that this is acknowledging any fears that you may have had or that you currently have in regards to this move. That if you are feeling uncomfortable or you are feeling a little bit afraid because of the uncertainties or the unknowns, that is normal, but it's acknowledging that with the strength card and encouraging at the same time. Very interesting. This Ace of Pentacles also came on top of this Nine of Pentacles, where you're feeling into your self-worth and self-value more, which came on top of this Four of Swords, where you're feeling a sense of stability and you're grounded, and you're trusting that things are coming together. You're trusting in this sense of stability. You're trusting that things are working out for you. So with that knowingness of your self-worth and that things are coming together for you and staying grounded within that belief, we have this Ace of Pentacles. And this is all directly under what this initial card was, the Knight of Pentacles, where you have something important to say or to provide or to share. Started with the Knight of Pentacles, ended with the Ace. Quit playing with me. Quit playing with me. Quit playing with me. That's what you should be saying at this point, like, quit playing with me. I know who I am. I know who I am. I know what I'm called to do. Wow. Oh, okay, that's what it's saying. Because I'm like, so the Devil card came out on top of this Emperor card. So I was like, definitely like, okay, so what are you trying to say? Like, what's the deal here? And it's like, I wasn't necessarily getting any, like, because the Devil card can speak to like holding yourself captive or being held captive by an addiction, a drug, something that you're using to kind of cope or get through, whatever. It can look like many things. With this Devil card coming out on top of this Emperor card, it's kind of like saying to me that it's kind of like I'm getting like some kind of auric feeling or sentiment of like coexisting or not allowing it to consume you. And it's kind of giving me like, if you guys done shadow work type of vibes, it's kind of like honoring both sides of yourself. in a way where you're no longer demonizing certain aspects of yourself. The parts of you that you don't like, you're actually taking the time to spend more time with those aspects of yourself in a way where you don't allow that to become an enemy. You don't allow it to become an enemy. That's beautiful. And above that, we had the King of Cups in reverse, which in its own right can speak to a form of stability in regards to emotional stability within yourself that you're cultivating with this Emperor card, that root chakra we were talking about earlier. And I think, yeah, the Emperor card was initially upside down. So we had the King of Pentacles and the King of Cups like this. And I'm hearing eradicating again. So in regards to that root chakra, also contrast your emotional well-being into your root chakra. This idea of having emotional stability within yourself, your goals, who you are, what you want, what you desire, what's important to you, what you have to share. Wow. Y'all heard that thing? Today drained me. That's how I'm feeling right now. Today drained me. Yes, it's definitely a labor of love. This was such a beautiful, beautiful message. I hope that this reached you. Thank you guys for joining me and being here with me. Like, I'm so excited for our journey. So inspired by your journey as well. And I'm very, very grateful. And thank you, angels, guides, ancestors, God source, and benevolent energies that stand in truth and love, that continue to help and support me with these messages and through my daily life. Thank you so much. And thank you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Please, please, please show me love for this reading. This is an hour and 32 minutes. And I definitely enjoyed it. And I just want to know that you guys are here and that the message was received. Like, let me know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye.